John Yoo with us now, the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, UC Berkeley law professor, former Justice Thomas law clerk. Let me ask you first on the gag order stuff. Some interesting development out of Judge Michon that struck me. The prosecution wanted to maybe take this a little further and cite the former president for these gag order violations. Mershon was saying allowing that or allowing this to become an even bigger issue would be so prejudicial that it would be very, very difficult, quoting him, for the jury to look past that. What did he mean by that, and what did you glean from that?
Good morning. Yeah, my overall impression is that the gag order shows that the judge is in water over his head, because he's failing to recognize that President Trump is not just a regular defendant, that he has a First Amendment right as a candidate for the Republican Party to speak. That's the core of the free speech clause in our Constitution. So I think what you're seeing here in the day-to-day trial is Judge Mershon might have realized that, and maybe he's trying to pull back from the overbreath of his gag order, and maybe now we'll stop actually sanctioning Trump issue by issue, event by event. On the other hand, you also see Donald Trump, as you saw in the clip you just played, is also saying, I'm under a gag order. I'm not going to keep talking about the witnesses and the trial in a way that's prohibited. So maybe they're both coming to a kind of compromise with each other.
So the reason why I ask about it is, couldn't Mershon make this easy on himself by just saying, all right, what applies to you should apply to Michael Cohen?
I think that's right. It doesn't make any sense, it seems to me, for the judge to put Donald Trump on a gag order and prohibit him from saying outside the courtroom, what everyone else who are going to be witnesses are saying outside the courtroom. And then also the gag order is preventing Donald Trump from saying outside the courtroom what his very lawyers are going to say inside the courtroom. Why shouldn't the public be able to know exactly what's going on inside? And if Donald Trump wants to reveal the attacks that his lawyers are going to make on Michael Cohen or other witnesses, or lay out his theory of the case, why doesn't the judge just let him? The whole point of the free speech clause is for the public to be able to learn about and discuss issues of importance to our elections.
I want to also touch on your response to, or your take, certainly, on Hope Hicks' testimony. She didn't want to be there. She got upset, was crying briefly, then calmed down and was answering the questions. I understand all of that. The defense said that she painted Donald Trump in a friendly light, that he was concerned some of these revelations about payments to porn stars and others, would be something that he didn't want his wife to have to endure, down to explaining how he had requested that newspapers not be made available at his residence so that she could read them. But prosecutors, couldn't they take that to say that this is yet another sign how some of these damaging stories, whether true or not, were all part of a scheme to illegally influence the 2016 election? That's what the prosecution is saying. And anything that furthers that argument, whether it looks good and understandable for the former president or not, isn't going to take that argument away, that this was all about trying to influence that election. That's what they keep insisting.
Well, let me say, Hope is a friend of mine, and it's terrible to see her have to undergo this kind of pressure. I didn't see the trials, not televised, but it sounds to me like she told the truth clearly, and we'll see cross-examination, but I don't think there's going to be any doubt about her testimony. I think the prosecution made headway in all these witnesses just by showing that President Trump wanted to make sure that these stories didn't get out. That's the facts that they want to get out. But the problem is that the prosecution doesn't have law on its side, because the more that you can show, that Donald Trump can show, but here it's actually the prosecution is inadvertently showing that Donald Trump is trying to protect his personal reputation with his family, with his friends. It looks less like a campaign contribution violation.
Very interesting. John, thank you very much. John Yoo, on those developments. Again, the trial does resume next Monday in New York. The president, the former president, will be there.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.